Hi everyone, and welcome to this presentation on Antidote software. This presentation will examine a product that is highly useful not just for translation, but also for the revision of work already translated. I'll start off with an introduction to the software with some basic facts, followed by the features and the pricing of this software, and then show a demonstration of how to use it. This will be followed by a summary that will reflect on how the software can be of use to the translator. Antidote is an advanced grammar, spelling, and style checker which finds and corrects errors and irregularities in a piece of writing. It goes beyond this, however, with features that enable you to improve your skills in the language you are using. As the name suggests, it acts as a kind of antidote to your writing mistakes. The software is produced by Druid Informatique, a Quebec-based language software company started in 1996. This company has been devoted to developing aids for writing and revising, and has also produced WritingPal and WebElixir, both very useful tools that will require their own presentations. Antidote was first developed for French and has gone through many improvements, and in 1996 was introduced for English. I bought this software at the recommendation of a French professor, and I found it to be a great tool for improving my French. We'll now take a look at some of the main features. The first is the corrector. This is the feature that detects the errors in a document that you're writing in Word and allows you to go through each one. The errors are carefully grouped and have recommendations on how to correct them. There is also a variety of filters available for analyzing your text, as we'll soon see. Next is a monolingual dictionary of French if you use the French module, and English for the English module. As translators, we need monolingual dictionaries as well as bilingual ones, and Antidote's monolingual dictionaries are particularly detailed and exhaustive in their content. It's a general dictionary without specialized terminology, but as we will see, you can add terms to the dictionary at any time. The language guides are essentially a mini course on the linguistics of French, but also on the fundamentals of linguistics in general. All these features can help you to significantly expand your breadth of knowledge of the language in which you're writing, whether English or French. In this way, Antidote not only corrects your errors, but enables you to avoid making them in the future and improve the quality of your writing. This software sells for $129.95 as of 2018 for the English or the French module, and you can have the other language added on for another $50. So now that we've covered a basic overview of Antidote, we can move on to how to use it. We're now going to proceed with a demonstration of Antidote. We're going to start with the corrector. So the way Antidote works is that when you install it, it will work as a kind of add-on to software that you already have. So in this case, we'll be using Microsoft Word. So once you've translated your document, perhaps you've exported it from WordFast or from Trados Studio. In this case, I've translated a document from the Canadian Press. You can then go into the ribbon and just select the Antidote tab. And this tab will be automatically added to Word once you install Antidote. And here we have the symbols for the three main features, and I'm going to select the corrector. So with a little bit of time, this will eventually load, and you can see that the text is appearing with all of the errors marked. It has both red and orange underlines, which we'll explain in a little while, but right now it can be a little bit confusing. You may be wondering where to begin because there is so much here that you can take a look at that it's a little bit overwhelming. So before we get to the actual correction of the errors, let's just start off with how they are grouped, and that begins over here in the top left. So we have the errors organized by language or linguistic errors, typographical errors, and stylistic errors. So if we start off here, we look at the errors of language. We can see that they're all marked not only in the document, but also in the right-hand column where they're listed. The red underlines indicate a clear error, and the orange underlines indicate something that is unclear. Either Antidote doesn't recognize it, or it's interfering with the analysis of the sentence. So those are the linguistic errors. We then move on to typographical errors, where I'm using typographical conventions that aren't used in French. And then for style, we have things like repetitions over here on the right-hand column, and then we have turns of phrase that indicate that there's a run-on sentence, In this case, it's mostly because I have a lot of abbreviations, a lot of acronyms in my text, and I've just written out the full name with all of the prepositions, so there appear to be a lot of run-on sentences. Then we look at vocabulary items that Antidote finds are difficult to interpret. It doesn't recognize them, so we have to revise this and decide what we're going to do about it. Now, below these three categories of errors, we see these different filters, which can tell you pretty much anything about your document that you would need to know. There's a lot we could explore here, but I'm just going to go over the most important ones for correcting your document. So, right here under revision, we start with pragmatique, which will show you which words in your document answer the W5 and how question, the who, what, where, when, why, how, and it's highlighting all the words that answer these types of questions. We can go to sémantique, which will highlight your words in your document that have a positive connotation. You can highlight the ones with a negative connotation, or you can highlight the strong vocabulary choices or the weak vocabulary choices. So you may highlight as many of them as you like at one time. So here they're all highlighted, or you can have none. It just depends what you want to check. So for lexique, we have a list of rare words or strange words. In this case, I don't have any. We have unknown words, so it's picked up a few of those, 7, and 1 abbreviation. And finally, under logique, we have things like transitional words, words in quotation marks, we have negatives, incisions, all that type of thing. So this is all in the revision stage. And when we go down to statistics, this will give us all the figures about our document. So for instance, if we look at taille, we can see the number of words or phrases or paragraphs that we have in our document. It gives us an average. It gives us sentences per paragraph. It gives us words per phrase. So all the numbers that you could possibly need. We can look at performance. This shows you what the quality of your writing is like. So right now I'm at a fairly low level. I have a lot of errors in my documents, so I have quite a ways up the Antidote to move before I reach the Druid level. But hopefully I'll get there once I correct all the errors in my document. Regroupement will show you what kind of errors that you have. So it looks like I have mostly orthographic or spelling errors, and I have a little bit of grammar check to do as well. So if I select orthographe, I can look to these further subcategories down here to see what types of spelling mistakes I've made, and you can see that they are mostly errors of diacritical markers. I've forgotten to put a lot of my accents on my words, so that's what it's catching. I can look at grammatical mistakes that I have, and it looks like I have the wrong verb in one place. I have an error of adjectives in another place, and it looks like I have written the adjective with the wrong gender that doesn't correspond with the noun. So this gives you an idea of what types of errors you're committing, and you can narrow them based on all these different categories. Mots, or words, will show you which ones you use the most frequently. So we have this graph here that gives you a visual representation of how frequently you're using all these words. And the list down here actually documents all the lexical items that you have and shows you in reverse alphabetical order how many times you're using each one. So now that we've taken a look at some of the main filters, we can move on to the correction of the errors. So as we go about the correction of this document, we'll start off with the linguistic errors. So you can see right away that they're all marked on the text itself in red underlines and orange underlines. Now the red underlines are the ones that indicate that Antidote has found a blatant error somewhere, and it knows what the correction should be, whereas the orange underlines indicate that there's something wrong that Antidote has detected, but it doesn't necessarily know what to suggest. So it has trouble interpreting it, or it finds that there might be a proper noun that's not in the lexicon, which we'll see coming up. But either way, it's going to require some revision on your part. And we can see this right at the beginning here. There's a rupture at the beginning of my sentence, and that's what the orange underline is meant to indicate. So the problem is that there's something missing here that prevents Antidote from properly interpreting and analyzing what I've written here. And in this case, the problem is that I forgot the definite article before my abbreviation. So I'm just going to put in la for la société, and the problem is fixed. So what this demonstrates for us is that you do have to do your own work whenever you're using Antidote. It can't do everything for you, it can find some errors, but ultimately it is up to you to ensure that your document reads smoothly, so you do have to take on ultimate responsibility.